Being 7 o'clock, I'll call the Marathon County Board of Supervisors to order, please. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing because that will be followed by a moment of reflection.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we'll have the reading of the notice, please.
An educational meeting of the Marathon County Board of Supervisors will be held at the Marathon County Courthouse Assembly Room, 500 Forest Street, Wausau, at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, April 20th, 2021, and the agenda was duly signed and posted.
I thank you, and I would like to request everyone put their electronic devices and or cell phones on silent or vibrate as to not to interrupt the meeting. Along with all of our call-in users, please put your cell phones or phones and or electronic devices on mute. And we'll proceed to roll call, please. I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Beestrom. Bizotto. Boots.
Here.
Book.
Present.
Seiler.
Here.
Conway.
Here.
Dickinson.
Here.
Drabeck.
Here.
Pfeifrick.
Here.
Gaber.
Here.
Gibbs.
There.
Gonering. Guild.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Jacobson.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Krause. Lamont.
Here.
Leahy. Lowe.
Here.
Mask. Oberbeck.
Here.
Opal. Robinson.
Here.
Rosenberg.
Here.
Seafelt.
Here.
Stark.
Here.
Van Cray.
Here.
Vole. Zhang.
Here.
Beestrom. Bizotto. Gonering. Krause. Mask.
Here.
Opal. Vole. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I would like to welcome all of the visitors that we have with us today, including the viewing audience. And we'll move on to item number 7, 15-minute public comment. And I had no one address the chair or request to comment. And so we will move on to item 8, education presentation reports, standing committee chairpersons or designees. Supervisor Robinson.
I'd like to point out that tomorrow we'll be attending the Joint Committee on Finance in Rylander and trying to articulate the county's priorities for the upcoming state budget, which includes increasing general transportation aids, shared revenue, expansion of broadband grants, the funding for CPZ staff, child protective services, and increasing the number of DAs for the state. In addition, the Finance Committee will be meeting next week, and one of the things we'll be talking about is how we can engage the public in the prioritization of the funds through the American Rescue Plan. So I would encourage members to pay attention to those discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee chairs and/or designees reports, please? Okay, we will move on to review and discussion of Tuesday meeting, of Thursdays, technically, Thursdays, meeting agenda items. Under 9A, we have appointments, and I would invite the administrator to give a little bit of history as to the process that was used on the selection for the Diversity Affairs Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As referenced at the board meeting last month, we continued to accept applications for the vacancy for that position on the Diversity Affairs Commission. We added an announcement on the webpage indicating that we would be accepting applications until Monday, April 5th. We posted that announcement on March 24th. Ultimately, we received 15 applications, which, as I referenced at the last meeting, I think it's really excellent, and hopefully we continue to see great interest in local government involvement. Ultimately, to narrow the pool of candidates for conducting interviews, I screened the applications based on three factors. First, the range of experience as conveyed in the application that was submitted through that online portal. Two, the effort exhibited in submitting that application, the breadth of the information. And three, the expression of interest in diversity, equity, and inclusion related work, again, based on the information in that submission. In addition to screening the candidates myself, I reached out to County Board Chair Gibbs and asked him to screen those candidates as well. Ultimately, we collectively identified 5 candidates that I proceeded to interviewed each of those candidates using the same series of questions, and based on those interviews, it was ultimately my determination to select Lisa Ort Sondergaard for consideration by the board. Included within your packet for the consideration of the appointment, you'll see a resume as well as statement of interest. With respect to her background professionally, you'll see from that resume approximately 15 years in social work, spending approximately 8 years in the Wausau School District as a social worker, more than 20 years of service as a small business owner, along with a co-owner of that business with her husband, total of 10 employees in that business. Personally, strong history of working with at-risk populations, serving as a foster parent, a volunteer at the Warming Center since 2013, and she indicates she's a supporter of the women's community. Likewise, I think it's important to note she's a longstanding resident of Marathon County, lives in the village of Edgar, and is active in both her community and in her church. So based on my review and interviews, bringing her forward for consideration, again, I think in terms of process, the process worked very, very smoothly. My hope is that we continue to see a great deal of interest in local government service. The only other comment I'll make with respect to the appointments that'll be before you on Thursday is we do have a slight language correction with regard to the appointment to the Solid Waste Board. the term of that appointment will not be for 3 years, but rather to fulfill the unexpired term of that previous appointment, which was in April of this year, or last year, excuse me, April of last year. So there will be essentially a 2-year appointment for that individual to fulfill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And thank you. So we'll go on to review item 9A1, Diversity Affairs Commission. I'd ask the clerk to read the appointment, please.
Appointing Lisa Ort Sondergaard, 220180 Pleasant Drive, Edgar, to the Diversity Affairs Commission to complete a term to expire at the April Organizational County Board meeting in 2022.
Questions? All right, moving on to item 9A2, Civil Service Commission.
Mr. Chair, this is Supervisor Dickinson. I did have a question. I'd raise my hand.
Supervisor Dickinson, go ahead.
Thank you. I was just wondering when Ms. Ort Sondergaard submitted her application, was that after the meeting? After the previous meeting?
I don't have that information in front of me. I believe I can find that out, however.
Okay, also,
The reason I had asked is,
go ahead.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Supervisor.
Thank you. The reason I ask is that is something I had brought up at the last meeting, that I had had asked that we already had applicants at that time, and that it not be reopened. So thank you for giving me that. Well, if you can give me that information about what the date was, that would be helpful.
Okay, we have Supervisor.
And then the second question I had was about requirements. You mentioned there was, I don't know if that was on the website, on the application, what kind of job qualifications or those kinds of things. You had mentioned certain things like, she has worked with at-risk population, support for women. Are there any kind of requirements, or were those made up on the fly?
I just had the opportunity to speak, this is Administrator Leonard, just had the opportunity to speak with Clerk Trueblood. Our understanding is Ms. Ort Sondergaard submitted her application on the 26th of March. With respect to your latter questions, just to clarify, my comments were with respect to her past experience that I think makes her a good candidate to serve on the Diversity Affairs Commission, not that they were criteria for screening. The screening criteria and the interview questions were derived from the mission and purpose, as well as the roles and responsibilities of the Diversity Affairs Commission that are set forth on the county website and within the county board ordinances, which were approved in April of last year with the organizational meeting. Does that answer your question, Supervisor Dickinson?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we have Supervisor Book.
Thank you, Chair Gibbs. Is this a time for discussion now or just a question? Because I have some thoughts, but perhaps this is not the occasion nor the time.
This is a time to be discussing anything or any additional information that you may have in regards to the items that will be voted on Thursday.
Okay, good. When you said question, I wasn't quite sure if this was a time. I would just like to say that from what I understand, from what I've seen and read, I can hardly believe her nomination is an unbiased. The nomination of Lisa Ort Sondergaard is an unbiased choice, though I'm fine with, she has many fine qualities, skills. I appreciate the extent of her volunteer work and community involvement. I'm wondering if her nomination is truly an unbiased choice, considering there were 14 other applicants. She states in her letter her values of fairness, equity, and justice. She also states in her resume that she is a problem solver, open-minded, supports different points of view, seeks resolution. Yet her Facebook page tells a different story, as do other online sources, and all of which demonstrate blatant political bias. Additionally, on February 24th, she spoke in support of the resolution before the Diversity Committee. On March 17th, she wrote a letter in favor of the resolution, to me and possibly to other supervisors. With this in mind, my question is how much balance and diversity will her membership on this diversity committee bring to an already homogeneous group?
And my response to you, to that end would be the work experience and the evaluations process that we used was the top candidate.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, we will move on to item 9A2, Civil Service Commission.
Reappointing Kelly Zagrebski, 2880 West Wausau Ave, to the Civil Service Commission for a 5-year term to expire December 31st, 2025.
Any discussion on that appointment? Any discussion?
This is Supervisor Van Cray.
Supervisor Van Cray, go ahead.
I don't know if this matters, but in the appointment in the packet, it refers to Lance as the interim Marathon County Administrator.
We will have that corrected at the Thursday's meeting. Thank you for catching that. Any other discussion? Okay, we'll move on to item 9A3, Solid Waste Management Board. Again, there's a correction, and that will be to fulfill the unexpired term to end in 2023. Any discussion?
Appointing Ashley Lang, 507 Seymour Street, Wausau, to the Solid Waste Management Board to complete an unexpired term ending April 30th, 2023.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, moving on to item 9A4, Aging and Disability Resource Center Board of Central Wisconsin Committee.
Reappointing Tony Omernick, 155560 Rest Lawn Road, Wausau, to the Aging and Disability Resource Center Board of Central Wisconsin Advisory Committee for a 3-year term to expire December 31st, 2023.
Any discussion? Okay, moving on to ordinances under item 9B. Under 9B1, Town of Brighton rezone, Jordan Brost on behalf of Lynn Farms, Inc. Ordinance 13-21. Any discussion? Okay, moving on to item 9B2 from the Town of Rib Falls rezone. Jamie and Veronica Mishka, ordinance 14-21. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 9B3, Town of Green Valley rezone. Tim Vreeland on behalf of Total Stone Design, ordinance 15-21. Okay, moving on to item 9C1, resolutions. Human Resources, Finance, and Property approved 2021 budget transfers for Marathon County Department of Appropriations, Resolution 27-21. Any questions? Okay, moving on to item 9C2, Infrastructure Committee. Item 9C2A, designating the week of April 26th through April 30th, 2021 as Work Zone Awareness Week in Marathon County, Resolution 28-21. Any questions or discussion? Okay, we are down to item 10, announcements and/or requests. Any announcements and/or requests? Supervisor Zhang.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I just want to announce to the Diversity Affairs Commission that, to the Marathon County Board, that the Diversity Affairs Commission is hosting a special meeting this Thursday in regards and putting together a town hall session in regards to the Community for All resolution. It will be held at 5 o'clock at the Whitewater Music Hall, right downtown here. So members of the board is welcome to join us to hear the discussions. It will be facilitated by UW Extension. But in addition to that, Supervisor Conway will be representing the commission at the Eastern Town Association to talk a little bit more about the resolution as well. And if there's any questions, please direct them to me. But other than that, I hope to see everyone there. Thank you.
Okay, any other announcements? If not, I have a couple of announcements. First, the clerk is starting to take reservations for the WCA annual conference that is going to be held in La Crosse this year, September 26th through the 28th. As our board rules state, each of the standing committee chairs or their committee designees are entitled to attend the WCA annual conference. In addition to that, the WCA has waived and has historically, this is the second year where new term supervisors are invited to attend the annual conference with no registration fee. So the WCA has waived the registration fee, and our rules allow those individuals to attend. Now, if you have an interest in attending, the reservations for hotels is going to open on May 3rd. So if you do have an interest as a committee chair, or if the committee chair is not available, and the committee wants to designate someone else from the standing committee to attend, they should in fact reach out to the clerk and myself so that we know who those individuals are, so that we can get the reservations in, because La Crosse is rather challenging in that there's multiple hotels that are designated as the WCA conference hotels, but they're not all within walking distance, and they fill up rather quickly. So that is all I have for the WCA conference. The other announcement that I would like to extend is a sincere thank you to each and every one of the county family that has extended a wishes to me and my family in my wife's accident, and all of the staff and or board members who have expressed their well wishes for my wife's speedy recovery. I do want to express my sincere thank you, whether it was in cards or whether it was flowers or whatever. It was greatly appreciated, and thank you for that. Any other announcements and or requests? Seeing none, we are down to item number 11. What is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Rosenberg to adjourn. Is there a second? Supervisor Robinson with a
Supervisor Lowe,
second.
second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We stand adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And just a reminder, the voters' meeting will be this Thursday at 7 o'clock. Thank you, and have a great evening.